Hello, hello. How's it all going? Hello. I am here. Welcome to Behind the Screens episode 4. We're already 4 episodes in. This is crazy. Of this thing we are going to be building pantheon this session. Or maybe not necessarily a pantheon, but a system of gods or worshipping for the setting that we've put together out of just talking about ancestry stereotypes and that sort of thing. Just kind of spawned a setting out of that. And so because there are champions and because there are clerics in the game, they need something to worship. So the question is, what do they worship? So yeah, that's the theme of this episode. How you doing, Bellamont, sir?
It's pretty good. I think, yeah, apart from like just the cleric and the champion class, for instance, for those who come from older systems, you probably call them like the paladin,
Mm-hmm.
or the priest, or the crusader, or the so on, so on, so on, so
Mm-hmm.
on.
Or
It's
just,
also probably important to
anyone.
note, yeah, it's
Because,
also important to note the role religion has in a particular setting.
yeah.
We're talking about fantasy settings, so we can do things where because there are deities, the mythologies herein can directly affect the players,
Mm.
and you can kind of tell those more epic or legendary stories, for instance.
Mm.
Plus, it also fleshes out some of the story in regards to the world creation and so forth, whatever that may be,
Mm.
and the how the deities interact with the world can actually influence the various cultures, and it goes like almost
Yeah.
all the way down.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
probably important to note like how other settings would probably do their deities.
Mm.
I know you got your traditional ones where the gods step in and so forth. They die, they rise, whatever's.
Yeah.
I think the One Realms is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone tends to be a bit more hands off, from what I remember. That's why you have quite a few more atheists in
Mm.
that world, or people who are irreligious on the basis that
Mm.
what I remember in some of the 3.5 supplements, it was potentially believable that the gods did exist in Eberron. Um, they didn't have a pantheon, so clerics exist and stuff. That works.
Yeah. Particularly because the reliance on Magitech and stuff like that in Eberron. It's like, cool. Well, we've got all this magic. Why do we need clerics? Why do we need, like, these deities as a thing when we can just do everything that we need to in life by
Yeah,
ourselves?
and
Um,
even in Xandria, right? A lot of the
mm,
gods seem to be a bit more hands off.
mm,
I'm not massively knowledgeable of the Xandria lore, so I'm sure
well,
heaps of people could probably like correct me on that front. But yeah,
as far as I know, and this is, potentially wrong, the Exandria lore, basically, the gods themselves are kind of like, have been blocked off from the world, not in terms of like communication, but physically blocked off from the world by the events of the calamity,
yeah.
um, which made basically made a sort of barrier between the world and the gods, so that
And so because the calamity had all the gods like interact with the world directly and stuff like that, right?
yeah.
So this is basically going off my knowledge of what either people told me or that short video that Matt Mercer kindly
Put
voice
together.
overed with or
Mm-hmm.
narrated, because I've watched that 2 to 3 times because it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a few ways you can interpret the gods. And it's a matter of seeing that either we walk the treaded path or we try for something that is a little bit different.
Mm. I would like to try for something a little bit more different, but you bring up that video, and I'm like, should we watch that video?
May as well. Yep.
It's fun.
So it's a good masterclass on like someone have created an entire
Oh, hey, I'm live.
just thought history itself and how that influences things. Um, there's also
Adandric.
regard to the fact that you can just take whatever deities you want from the settings, put it in your homebrew, and that alleviates a lot of the work. But and for a lot of people, that's perfectly fine. Making a pantheon is tiresome, and for many players, is something they just do not touch on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
Galarian, on the other hand, has a lot of worshipful deities. Is probably the best way of putting it.
Yes.
It's probably understating it by a lot. But even if you keep it to their core, they've got a core of 20 deities, which is still quite big compared to like a lot of the core deities in other settings.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's massive. Okay. Well, I'm gonna quieten down. But if you'd like to listen in, and we are going to listen to Exandria, an intimate history, narrated by Matt Mercer. So, wow.
Welcome to Exandria, the world of Critical Role. Join us as we explore this world and its history, starting at the very beginning. Eons before recorded history, a group of formless gods arrived at a world churning in chaos. But within this disorder, they saw boundless potential and a chance to learn about their place in the universe through the act of creation. So they began to tame the primordial chaos of this world and created life to live upon it. First were the elves, then the dwarves, then humans, and other races swiftly following as the young gods created their children. But these children of the gods lived short, violent lives. To help them withstand the chaos of this tumultuous land, the gods gave their children small slivers of their essence, resulting in the birth of divine magic. In addition, they created illustrious dragons pledged to defend the weak. But the primordial forces of this world responded to this power shift. Primordial titans rose to end this attempt at taming their world, destroying vast swaths of mortal populations. This created a schism between the gods. One side, the prime deities, wanted to protect their creations from the titans. So they taught their children how to make magic on their own, culminating in the birth of arcane magic. But the other gods became so overwhelmed by grief, loss, and frustration, they wanted to join the Titans in destroying their creations. These betrayer gods wanted to give up on this world and start over somewhere else. To save their children and their world, the prime deities banished the betrayer gods to their own prison planes. And with the help of the mortals' magic, the primordial titans were defeated, their essences safely channeled and locked away into the elemental planes. And thus, civilization dawned in the heart of the first city, Vasselheim. And this world was finally named Exandria. For centuries, the mortal races prospered during the Age of Arcana. They perfected their magics, spawning unimaginable feats of arcane innovation. But this progress also led to unchecked arrogance. Some began using their magics for the ruthless pursuit of power, immortality, and even to attain godhood. One mortal challenged the god of death and won, ascending to take their place in the pantheon. Another mortal, inspired by her success, resorted to releasing the betrayer gods from their planar prisons to achieve such power. The betrayer gods and their acolytes ravaged the world, attacking Vasselheim directly, and invoking the wrath of the guardian dragons and the prime deities themselves. The result was a magical arms race, with all sides, god and mortal alike, working diligently to create new arcane engines of war. A war that would become known as the Calamity. Not much is known about the battles that ensued during the calamity, but the scars they left upon the world are visible to this day. Some gods imbued fragments of their power into powerful arms and armaments known as the vestiges of divergence. The grand, magical cities of the Age of Arcanum were completely destroyed by the war. Only Vasselheim, the Dawn City, survived, while the rest of civilization was left in ruins. The Prime Deities and their champions successfully banished the Betrayer gods back to their prison planes. But only 1/3 of the planet's population survived the calamity. After the events of this terrible catastrophe, the Prime Deities created the Divine Gate to protect their creations from the ruinous presence of unchecked divinity, sealing all divine powers behind it. The gods sacrificed their ability to physically return to the material plane, but Exandria would be protected from the destructive warring of these divine beings. The gods' power would only be channeled by their most devout worshippers. The calamity shook the foundations of Exandria, but from it, new cities and new cultures were spawned. Will the mistakes of the past be learned from? Or will history repeat itself? On the continent to the west, the dwarves had taken to their mountains. But after a generation, the elves returned to this land and named it Gwasar. Eventually, humans came to Gwasar, and with them they brought chaos and passion. King Warren Dressig and his sons waged a war for the land before the Dressig rule was felled by Zan Taldore. She became sovereign, and the continent was renamed Taldore in her honor. To the east is the continent of Wildmount, a geographically varied land split into 3 main sections. The Menagerie Coast, a land of trade ruled by the Clovis Concord. Western Wynandir, ruled by and named for the nationalistic Dwendalian Empire. And Eastern Wynandir, a land scarred by the calamity named Jorhas, ruled by the Kreen dynasty. Beyond their borders are the frozen tundras of Iselcross and the lands of the Miskath Strand. Sparsely populated and mostly untamed, the continent of Isilra is home to Vasselheim and is where civilization itself began. When the magical cities of the Age of Arcanum fell, the people of Vasselheim took on a distaste of arcane magic and a zealous respect for the works of the divine. In the south, you'll find the continent of Marquette. Though the pebbled coast is inviting and there is respite in the oasis, its vast desert can prove treacherous, and the lush jungles and jagged mountains that surround it hide mysteries still yet to be unraveled. Exandria is a world rife with change and marked by both power and potential, where destructive forces are forever seeking new ways to return to chaos, but where heroes will always rise up to meet these challenges and protect this fragile land.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So that was Exandria, an intimate history written, narrated by Matt Mercer. And it goes into detail of all of the things, but particularly the gods of the world are kind of like, there's about half the video for the history of the world dedicated to the gods and the sort of like primordial forces that affected the creation of the world and the world as it is known today. which is an interesting thing for a setting, and I think something that's pretty important to have in place for a sense of history and the word is verisimilitude, but immersion in the world, like the feeling of it being real. But yeah, hey Miyaka, it's good to see you. How's it going? You might be muted there, Bellamonster.
Yeah, so the part that's probably discussed is the role of deities in the setting and the degree of direct influence, not just influence in general, because of course they have heaps of influence, but just direct influence in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can probably further break that down, and if we're able to answer effectively those questions, you can get a feeling of how the deity's role of a particular world is.
So I guess
yeah.
the big opening question is how much can the gods, I'll put it in quotation marks because it might be, any variety of deity gods, how do those forces, how much can they influence the world?
Yep.
Which is an interesting question.
I think the big term there is directly influence. Yeah. So there's Galarian is a pretty good one in a way of it's a bit more diplomatic in that there's because of the degree of power that all the gods have regardless of their actual strength in comparison to their contemporaries or other deities, they often have this almost nuclear or mutual destruction type thing going on, or this nuclear thing going on, where if you can't have the deity can't directly influence the world too often, or pretty much not at all, because once that starts, it gives credence for the other deities to step in. And
as it was said in that video, it's like the magical arms race, right?
Yeah. And some deities in Galarian can be very direct. So if given the chance to just let loose, they will. And Gorham. But yeah.
Blood for Gorham.
Blood
Particularly
for Gorham.
like the neutral and evil deities, the ones that have a lot of that, like, well, of course, we're here for like certain goals, and we're not just gonna, give those goals up for the goodness of our hearts. It's like the self-sacrifice thing. We might give it up for certain ideals or other things, but it's not something that directly affects them. I would kind of like to see, this is something that we've talked about, but also just is a very, very radical idea, very wild idea, is a world without true deities or like a true pantheon, but like not a true pantheon, but instead having the focus be on the domains or the things that you pull power from.
Yeah. So another kind of thing that you can try to draw information, I think, with discussion can draw from, at least as an origin point, is atheism, right? So atheists, at least in context of the Galarian setting, atheism itself in our world is the fact that you do not believe any gods exist. But it's tweaked, however, in Galarian. I think there's a proper term for it. But the gist is that the gods aren't truly divine because they're not so all-powerful, and they're just merely very powerful beings. The fact that a deity can grant spells is not a prerequisite for godhood, because there are plenty of entities that are not gods, or at least the priests don't consider them gods. But you can draw power from them. So At least in second edition, there's the Green Man, which is some like really powerful Earth spirit that you can draw power from. You can draw power from a sufficiently powerful demon.
Hmm.
Um, you can draw power from an Imperial Lord, or in other words, like an Archangel, so on, so on, so on. And a lot of the worshipable deities are pretty much in Galarian are pretty much that.
Mm. Yeah, totally.
So and yeah, so they're not truly the ability. I don't know what the full thing is for at least Ezra's proof, the wizard,
Mm.
on why deities aren't truly divine. But yeah, his belief is that the deities aren't truly divine, and therefore
Well,
are not truly gods.
the general consensus is that power can be attained, and
Yep.
particularly in the Galarian setting, anyone theoretically can take the test of the Starstone, which is this monumental test to achieve godhood. Um, Now, basically, there's only 3 individuals off
Yeah,
the top of my head.
there are three ascended. Like other mortals have ascended,
Hmm.
but through the test of the Starstone,
There
only
are
three have
3,
ascended. Yeah.
which off the top of my head are Nethys,
No, not he.
not
He is
Nethys.
immortal, but not the Starstone one.
Norgabur is the one, is it?
It's Norgaba,
The
Iomade,
day
and Caden
and
Kalian.
Caden Kalian. Caden
Yeah.
Kalian being the best one because he got on a drunk bender one night and then woke up as a god, having no recollection of how he actually completed the test of the Starstone, which
Yeah.
is that's for a god that's moniker as the drunken hero, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, Vanessa.
So just for a little bit of lore thing, there's
Mhm.
this test of the Starstone itself is basically some like inconspicuous rock. It's almost
Mhm.
like a piece of massive piece of bismuth,
Mm.
and it lies within a big tower, like a church-like structure called the Starstone Cathedral,
Yeah.
that lies within Absalom, the really big city. However, there's a massive chasm
Mm.
that encircles the cathedral, and in order to even get past, even even start the test of the Starstone, you have to find a way to cross the chasm in a way that no one else has done before.
Yeah.
That is the first step. And then once you reach the Starstone, the actual test begins. And if you
You're right,
survive,
Miyaka. It is a Chad move.
yeah, it was pretty terrible. Control God, excessive control using kid to a fate. Yeah,
Mm.
controlling.
Exexus control something into fate, or using small unseen events to domino affect things into actualization.
And that's how like a lot of deities are trying to do their things, right? They can't. In order to make sure they can't just Deus Ex Machina everything.
Yeah.
They often make it so the gods have to indirectly control things, either through their followers or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I think
Yeah. So the big question is, how much do we want the gods to directly influence the world? And I think general consensus is not
it's
basically at
the
all.
thing
Like
I have
it's
a problem with is if gods are directly able to influence the world too often, is it takes away the agency of the player.
Mm.
Like speaking from a game perspective, taking away the agency of a player can feel terrible, right? We the GM can pretty much do whatever they want to you because they can just say, "Oh well, the gods did it," and then they just ragdoll you around, and you're just sitting there watching the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I do love a cutscene much of the next guy, but there's a certain point where you're not even playing your character.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I think for this, yeah, it could be different for just like writing books and novels and so forth. But I think at least from a perspective of I want to be a player in this type of world,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, leave having the gods not to be able to directly influence the world too often is good.
Mm.
Like yeah, for even example, for those who have played Wrath of the Righteous,
Yeah.
there's a moment where you get to meet a god and they appear in some form of to the world,
Mm.
and a demoness taunts her, as they do, and taunts her by saying, "You could just erase me right now if you wanted. I don't know why you had to go through this."
Mm-hmm.
And the deity's response is, "Yeah, I can just erase you without so much of a thought." but do so will cause much more trouble than there's worth for this world. So the only thing I can do is to try and convince you of the situation,
Yeah.
and more story happens.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's really badass. It's like, yeah, no, I would destroy you if it wouldn't, like, it's not worth it for me to, like, lower myself to destroy you, because it opens the floodgates for all of the people behind you that are holding back to also act on the world. And
Yeah.
it's really intense as far as the story plotline goes. Now, I guess the big question for, as well, like a secondary question to that, is how was the world brought into form, right?
Okay. I think the big brain move is okay. Is that almost every culture and so forth has their own version of the story, which is the cop out move, but it works. But I suppose the question probably is trying to ask, what is the actual answer? And I think almost everyone does that type of from nothing comes something, and then the world is brought into being, and then the gods decided they want to make some like playthings, so they just created peoples and shoved it onto the world. I actually don't have an answer to this question.
It's an interesting one, right? I would be interested to see what Chad also has to say, not necessarily about this question, but has to ask about, like, sort of the gods of the world. But I feel like my thought for the deities of this world is that they're not actually gods, but in fact they are sort of elements of existence. So things like memory, time,
Dreams.
Yeah.
So like the
You know.
I forgot the term they use it. Like the entities, the personifications, akin to the Sandman comics. Leading on to that point, since it comes up from personifications of what people can interpret as real, of man-made things, for instance, is you could go towards the fact that the deity's power is relative to the amount of people that worship, revere, or keep it a being. So something like dreams, for instance, are constant, and therefore would not really lose power because people dream.
Yeah.
The dreams may change over time, but dreams itself are hard to stop. Something probably more very specific could potentially fade away.
Absolutely. In the beginning there was nothing, and in that nothing was something, and that something was conscious thought. Yeah, I think that is an interesting way of going about it. That's like, okay, these elements are in existence. How do those elements bring a world into being is the big question. If it is just sort of domains and elements and that sort of thing, you could have that be an ineffable question, which is, basically it's like, it's a mystery as to what is
You could always
the
make
thing
it
that
a big question, right?
yeah, the big question is the thing that's theorized.
Yeah. Like you have to basically theorize that if the deities are reliant upon mortality to fuel their existence, what exists before mortality? Which you could almost think that, if you want to go like almost meta here, is the dimensions, not dimensions, like time is a constant. And I guess
it's time, space, and matter are the three
Yeah.
big constants. of
the
the
big
universe.
constants, right? So it'll effectively be the Titans.
Mm.
Our setting, if you're to go this way, is that time, space, and matter is the constants of the world, and within that, they're probably the only three things which, between them, are almost unreliant because they are constant.
Mm.
Like their forms and their perspectives, and like they can change, but effectively, if they are to be personifications, they're constant.
Mm. Something we could do, since those constants are created, something we could do is that, like those three constants happen, or like those three constants are in existence, and then the other elements start to be brought in and like orbit around those constants.
Yeah, like everything. Okay, so going along the idea that those are the three constants, everything
It's
else is
cool.
a derivative of the constant, right?
Mm.
So, treating the three-dimensional constants, yeah,
Mm.
because without time, matter and space cannot move.
Mm.
Without space, there is nothing to.
To hold.
Without space, there is like what's it called? Time can pass, and matter has nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And without matter, nothing really exists.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that being said, could do something along the lines of the creation of the world happened through, like, there are three, like the story kind of goes, or like the more the like basic story that is kind of the through line, because like if every culture has their own version of the story,
Mm-hmm.
then each culture needs to have sort of like the through line truth that is constant within each of those. Not necessarily, but like there should be a truth which is consistent in each of the sort of storylines to make those more real, as far as creation stories go. It's like, well, there is some truth to that. It's like, is it the whole truth? Probably not. But if we do sort of what that constant, so that simple constant truth is throughout it, then we can kind of build from there.
The one truth is that all comes from three constants, which are, time, space, and matter.
Mm-hmm. Setting you're making, the gods live outside the material plane, cannot come here because they are made of ethereal, so they can only send thoughts. Made of ethereal. That's cool. So they actually cannot. They have no physical aspects in which they can affect matter. It's actually an interesting idea, is that in order to actually affect the world, you need to be made of, affect the world in a direct way. You have to be made of the world itself.
Like, what? You can explain what that means?
So like, you, as like a person, you're made of matter. Time passes for you. You change over time. And you inhabit space, right? But like, if you have like deities or like beings that are outside of those three things, then they effectively can't actually touch the world.
They can't manifest.
They can't manifest. Because it's like,
Yeah.
Which would be an interesting thought.
So if you have like more abstract deities, they can't really manifest in more traditional ways because they're more conceptual in nature. So things like wealth, right? They can't manifest directly because wealth is a more conceptual concept.
And they want to come live there, so they created the smallest creature they could send, sell, and have been evolving them to make creatures smart enough to inhabit. Interesting. That another thing that is in sort of creation is that the races come from the gods, right? It's the children of the gods, is like the spawning of the different ancestries and that sort of thing that populate the world. So, going along the lines of our ancestry video, if you effectively had the ancestries spawning out of those sort of domain planes, I guess, that are orbiting around the sort of three pillars of the things, that could, like, theoretically combine, like, that could be the sort of basis for the races and that sort of thing. It's like the manifestation of these planes combining with the Titans creates these creatures.
And can you also, like, the big part is to make sure that there aren't any patron deities for each one. It's a common thing that comes across. And when someone else wants to worship him, it just sometimes feels a little, like, quirky or weird. Like, if you worship the deity for another aspect of them, for instance, if there's a dwarven god who's into crafting things, and someone who is not a dwarf wants to worship them, but happens to appreciate crafting things, in a lot of settings, they'll often get that person to go, well, this is other crafting deity, because this person is for dwarves. And then,
so patron deities, as in, like, deities solely
like Moradin for the dwarves,
yeah.
like Moradin, Torag for the dwarves and so forth. So I'd almost think to remove that aspect, but then it comes to a kind of which deity would create which race, and I'm almost thinking, why not just make it a collaborative effort? Because if we've got along the idea that a lot of our ancestries have an affinity for particular elements, that could be up for debate on whether or not it's because an inherent nature of their being, or it was intentional. I almost think that leaving that vague gives an interesting hook to go towards for future story development. Like the elves often have an affinity for air, and whether that is intentional or that is specific is up for debate. And having it open means that that question can be answered later, or it could be left open.
There are three Titans: time, space, and matter. How is the world created?
You could almost do the thing where it's just like time, space, matter.
Drawn to the power of these Titans came...
Drawn from the power of these Titans came all the rest of existence.
Yeah, but how would... Drawn from specifically means that there's supposed to be there would be something that pulls that pulls the world, like pulls the existence out of it, right?
Could be, or you could explain that just as those three are there, they're not, discrete entities, but rather more interconnected. So they easily have a push and pull upon each other.
Humanoids almost have enough space in their heads to hold the thoughts and powers to how's a god? People having abilities is them exploiting the potential the gods put in us to use for themselves.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Don't steal your idea. No
yeah,
worries.
so the three titans are time, space, and
Didn't
matter,
want to do that.
and drawn from the power of these entities comes the rest of existence.
Who's the rest of existence?
It's vague enough, but it's a starting point, I guess.
Mm.
One way you could also explain it is that the first creation of all three is order and entropy, and then and by utilizing both, the rest of existence came to be.
Mm.
So that effectively gives the whole, a very common thing that comes up, that chaos pretty much bursts the world into existence and creates the wondrous amount of weird things.
But order gives it all structure and...
Yeah, order gives it structure.
Mm.
Whether or not these people believe their own origin story and everything.
How about we
kinda...
say that the three titans are titans of order? So time, space, matter are like the titans of order. And then
the first thing created was chaos.
I wasn't going to say the first thing created. I was going to say in the void of space.
The void between three.
In the void between three, you could have like a rebellion within the three, within the perfect order of the three. A rebellion and a rebellion emerged, forming into chaos.
Yeah, so another way we can say it is that there are three titans of order: time, space, and matter. A brief discord between all three, or the discord between all three, formed chaos, and from that, existence.
And from that,
existence came to be.
I think for the different ancestries, they have like different thoughts of what that discord could be, and what that sort of making of existence.
Like, for instance, the elves see that chaos is a necessary evil, and things were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a bunch of things we can probably go into later. But as long as we have what is effectively the universal truth, so to speak, we can work off that.
So that's the sort of universe coming into being. So what made the planet or the world come into being itself?
The thing is, a lot of them don't go into specifically why or how the planet was formed. A lot of them is a case of, we've now got a planet. Like, you do have Galarian's one where the planet was formed as to be a cage to hold the destructive god Rovagug.
Yeah,
Rovagug. But yeah, with the assumption that other planets exist, you could almost just leave it be that because existence was birthed from chaos, effectively, we could assume that the planet was one of the things created and just kind of go from there. And the main thing was to probably establish the nature of the deities themselves. and how that could apply, or how that is relevant towards the people using the setting themselves. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, the thing is, I want, if we're gonna create, we need to have some reason why gods exist. So, with that, this is how was the universe created, basically. If we're going to have the basically deities be domains or sort of existence ideas of sort of things, which actually what I'll do is I'll pull up the domains list for Pathfinder 2nd edition, and I might put that in to the description as well. Save. So, the domains that you have here, I think, would be effectively different ideas or different manifestations of the sort of like existence, right?
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, with all these different domains, I think you have their sort of plane, quote unquote, or not necessarily like a whole plane dedicated to it, but them being a deity is the effective, like, them, these concepts and their manifestation on the world. So something like air is a very interesting one, because it's just sort of like air, right? You know, it's just the winds and the weather. But, you know, the idea of the weather and how that changes things could be something that a whole deity is based around. And so if you just take away the deity part and just have it be the sort of conceptualization of the sort of air, then that would be an interesting way of doing worship.
Because I feel these things could possibly be, their manifestations could kind of come together and work together in some places, where they can coalesce into a much larger thing, such as like, for instance, cities itself could come together with like minds, so to speak, and they would co-op together into a single realm easily. Stuff like that.
Yeah. That'd be quite cool. So, as a thought for this, load the remaining. What we could do, and this is potentially horrendous, but what we could do is we could take all of these domains here and just
take the entire list, copy paste it, see what can make.
Is this gonna work? It actually did. Holy crap!
It does, because I've done it before.
Awesome.
You just have to, like, when you paste it, you gotta make sure to click the clipboard and just keep the text. It doesn't have everything else.
Oh.
The clipboard on the right, and then looks a bit messy, but either that, or when you paste it, you go to the area and just go remove all formatting.
I'm just gonna delete that first. I think. Then we're gonna make the cells. We're gonna make the cells theme, not theme. Reset. Reset. Jeez, reset. It's interesting though, because that it actually, I think gives you the hyperlinks as well, which is really cool. So now we have all the hyperlinks for things. My thought is also have a good one, Mihaka. My thought is that what we could do is effectively have people come in and or basically do a collaborative effort where we create the different realms, and then sort of name them, and then have that go forward as you draw from the realm of X, Y, Z.
I'm just gonna try and sort this. Sort, please. Okay, well, sort. Ascending.
Oh, so much.
And done. Where is the list? Where's the link? Okay, so
the big question is where to begin.
Not that one. The sheet. So, I don't know. There we go. And just copy and paste. There we go. Done. So, for the names there, pretty much. From there, you can pretty much go on to everything else, and yeah, start working from there. So the concepts themselves can be broad. Some of them you can probably change and tweak or combine or whatever have you. From the looks of it, there are 59.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. Okay, so some of these probably can be combined. We probably don't need so many of them. But yeah, it works. It works. Yeah, like Holt's doing, some of these are quite similar, and you can often combine quite a few of these together under broad concepts. And the matter of just not precipitating, condensing condensing them into more a palatable figure. The thought here is the other thought here is that what this does is to allow for different cultures to interpret the same concept differently, if you know what I mean. So let's say you have a vampiric race. Vampires often hate the sun. So their perception of the sun could be as some wrathful being who slaughters their kind upon impact. While if you're somewhere from a farming industry or something, the sun could easily be something that is a nurturing light amongst the darkness that fuels their crops and so forth. And having these concepts be broad instead of specific to particular deities means it can be opened up to be interpreted differently by the different peoples.
I'm just going through each of these because it's a lot, eh?
Yeah. Like some of these, it's great to have confidence, but you don't necessarily need that. There's a lot here, man. You got Naga and you got Wemkin, and those are pretty much two sets of snake people. Those are apparently deities, so that's almost unneeded. To a lot of people, apparently dreams and nightmares are two different things here. I can understand how they're different, but in the concept of how overall concept of dreaming, yeah, that could easily be one thing, for instance. Some of this could easily just keep by itself, but yeah.
I feel like luck is almost too good to split up into something.
Luck is almost luck and fortune or misfortune
Oh,
could be one.
there's no. Oh, there's fate though. Luck
But
and
fate
fate.
is almost different in itself.
Well, yeah, but two sides of the coin. I don't know.
Yeah.
Me just scrolling. Hold on. I'm gonna 75. No, maybe even 50% this, and just like, so I'm not scrolling wildly around this page. So, hmm. While we do this, should we put on a different, like, creation
So,
video?
so the major thing is to probably go into how this impacts the particular setting itself in terms of what this means. Because there are no fixed deities they can worship. I know a few of them. What they do is they make it so one particular deity, who's like an actual deity, has different interpretations, or they do have different aspects that are seen by different people.
Yeah.
Thought here is to break it down to its pure concept, and instead of having a deity with their range of areas of concern, their portfolio of domains and so forth, and just say, oh, this person, this like moon god is like interpreted by different people differently depending on how people view the moon and stuff. They just go, well, you worship the moon, or the concept or whatever of the moon. Okay, cool. Draw for that what you will.
Yeah. But the thing is as well, like, we've talked about the moon a lot in this thing, because there's different phases and like interactions with how the moon goes. So I'm like, and circles. Someone was thinking, like, it's a hard thing to swallow that we're putting all of these. I'm just going to throw them into just general groupings that sort of, hey JR, it's good to see you again. Welcome
One
back.
thing that I kind of have done before is what happens if you just get all of these
And just
and you just
randomly.
shuffle them into groups of like, I don't know, 2, 3, or 4, and see what pops out, and you just make everything based off that.
We could do it randomly. That would be fun.
Yeah. That would form your more traditional pantheon. It is brute forcing it, but you get to have a lot of fun just making something, right?
Okay. How do I do this?
And okay, I don't know how to shuffle a group of things, but just Google probably has something. Shuffle list. Shuffle list.
List randomizer.
There we go. How's this? Huh.
Random.org.
Yeah, this is list randomizer. Let's see what happens.
So are we just? There were supposed to be 59. Did I miss one? I thought there were 59 domains. Uh-oh.
The list I have is 59. So, how about this? Okay, so
Gosh. There is so...
the one you're missing. Let's see if I find it. Data
How you doing, JR?
data validation. No, format. Conditional formatting. There we go. And it is. It's exactly as octane.
I'm gonna.
Does not have the one. Okay, give me a minute.
I'm gonna grab all this.
I'll put it into my Excel sheet and slap it there and see what is different between the two lists.
How many domains does each realm have? 4? Are we doing 4? How does
Each deity in
how does 58 divide?
Valerian,
59.
I think has 4. Let's see. Let's find
59's
out.
a prime number, isn't it?
Yeah, but let's see. So 4. Let's make it. We can easily make it 2 or 3. We gotta have a double up. This is gonna happen, so we may as well accept it.
Okay. Okay.
Some deity is just gonna have to miss out. So 3 per or 4 per or whatever.
Should we just do 4 per, and that just makes the
Yeah,
list smaller? And then whatever's missing out.
we'll just add on later or something. I don't know. Yeah.
This is a very already starting to shape up to be a very strange set of realms so far.
Do you want me to just sort that one out?
I mean, you can. So
Cool.
the first
Oh my god. Let me just
realm
grab this stuff on my
out
thing
of the
and let's go.
random generation thing here, which I'm gonna hide these hide columns. Actually, shit, hide this one too. Okay, done. Okay. The first one is plague, creation, luck, and change. What?
Oh.
Okay. So we're just randomizing a setting. That's also pretty fun. But let's go. There are lots of different kinds of pantheon. That's something that we've found out since we've looked into it.
Not that. Almost, and
So, for these realms, what is the how do I put it? How would one describe these different realms? With if we do can we do bars intersposed between the rows?
that's I suppose. Yeah, just give me a minute. I'm just trying to figure out. Usually it's so just vertical, horizontal lines, right?
Horizontal lines, yeah. Ah, perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So we have plague, creation, luck, and change for our first realm. What is this realm? It's a realm
Plague
of...
creation. Okay, so with the first two alone, and change especially, it could be a deity of life, death, and basically entropy itself, right? I don't know how luck comes into this. That's the only problem. This is the hard part. I'm just looking at plague creation and change. That's easily like a life, death, like a creator being.
Realm of chaos.
Yeah. Like another way is a plane of entropy. Assuming entropy is the correct word in this situation. Entropy. What does entropy mean? A lack of order or predictability, the gradual decline into disorder. Yep, seems good.
I mean, luck does, lack of predictability. That fits.
Okay, yep, that's it. Yeah.
I want to create names for these things as well, so I'm going to say, just let me check before I
just run a title. Like one thing that Legend of Vox Machina does very well, and I think even some settings kind of do it instead of just naming them directly, is to call them by their title. Because A, it seems epic. Two, yeah, it's epic. But it also leads to quite a few cool things as well.
The Edifice of Entropy.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Edifice of Entropy. Yep.
Cool.
Reroll, please. And
Freedom. Just freedom in cities just made me think of like the America.
America.
Yeah, literally. You also got fire there, so you know that works.
Unique values.
Freedom, perfection, city, and fire. Um. What do you call, like, when you forge like an ingot into like a refining process? Is there a synonym for refining?
To refine.
Uh,
Like to turn it into a ingot? Smelter.
Yeah, is a smelter, but
Yeah.
um,
To put it into an ingot, like to form it or to refine it?
to refine it.
I think smelter is one.
Hmm. It's
The
not.
chalice of civilization. Oh no, there's another word for oh my god, there's another word for smelter. Forge, I think is not forge. I'm looking for synonym. Synonym for forge or to smelter or to um smelting. We'll figure something out. It's the official type of building. This
Synonym for cities. Merge.
data.
Merging. Merge. I'm getting brainwave.
Yeah, it's just like there's a word I'm looking for.
Uh,
Oh, the first one's not there in your list. Abomination. That's fine. Abomination you can stop anyway. All right. The Crucible of Civilization.
oh, that's. Yep. Cool.
Merge.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh,
I know.
oh.
I know. Watching all these random videos about making smelting metal helped out somewhere.
I've seen 10 seasons of Forged in Fire. Let's go.
Pain, delirium, cold, and might.
This is a bad place to
I
be.
don't know what like what aspects came together in order to form this. Um,
I'm looking up delirium and what they. No. Pathfinder domains. Give me the domain, please.
character. Well, yeah.
Bring about hallucinations and restlessness. Hyperfocus is their domain spell.
So it's focus or unfocus of mind.
Yeah. That could be spicy. Metroplex. I think
Before.
right, yes. For this place, pain, delirium is like hyperfocus. Cold, when you cold,
It somehow makes me think like berserkers for some reason.
it's got might and pain, which is like,
Yeah. The berserker.
What's another pain
Okay,
synonym?
The
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hold on, I got it. I've got it. The Tundra of Torment.
Okay, all right. Let's. We've gone to 3 in a row. I would just go to alliterate things now.
I mean, alliteration's amazing, so
Yeah, we might as well go for it. Okay.
they have to be alliterative. If it's not alliteration, throw it out.
Try again later.
Okay.
Naga. Like
What
the
do you...
serpentine Nagas, you're in tune with the cosmic forces that blah 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 once controlled.
You think Tundra of Torment's good?
Tundra Torment is good.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Or the chill spirit diviners was decapitated, brought low by treachery. She grants boons only to mortal champions who seek to topple the treacherous and restore her rightful rule. Okay,
Naga?
so it's about snake peoples. The one you're missing is Abomination.
But it divides like so evenly with what's there.
Yeah, I know. So if there's one that doesn't fit, we can replace it.
With
But,
Abomination.
yeah.
How does it divide so evenly?
Because there's already your list only had 58.
But does 58 divide into 4? It divides it into 14.5 times. Oh.
So something is missing. Okay, that's fine.
We've got double ups. That's why.
Oh, double ups? Good.
I'm worried that we have too many double ups, but maybe not. We'll see. Maybe we can throw Abomination in one of the double ups. Alright. Moon, Knowledge, Naga, Repose, Lunar.
Repose is apparently the one that gives support that stops undeath. I think it's the one, the funerary one.
JRR's suggestion, the Lunar Leviathan.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
That's so cool. Yeah, like what would that even be? Oh, Lunar
Okay.
Leviathan.
So Leviathan, right?
Mhm.
Isn't it basically the idea? Oh, it's death, right? Is it death? No.
No,
It's the
Leviathan
final-
is like a freaking is the big freak off monster in the sea.
Oh, okay. So is it the being? Is it the Leviathan? So what if the Leviathan wasn't a literal thing, but was more the concept of that being, and that it gives you your final rest? Like, it's a vast sea monster with incredible strength. So it is a being that you cannot stop. So the thought is like, it's like the world serpent, right? It's the world serpent of Norse mythology is called not Nidhogger. It's called Jormungandr.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's less about the Leviathan being an actual thing, and more the concept that it is a vastly powerful thing you cannot stop.
What if? Okay, no, hold on.
It is
What
the
if
serpent
we
that
do
wraps
an
around the
Apollo,
moon.
and we have the Lunar Leviathan swims around the oceans of the world, creating not only creating the tides, but dragging the moon in its wake?
Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
Okay.
Dragging the moon in its wake.
And
In its wake. Man. Vigil. Vigil? What does Vigil do when it's at home?
I think Vigil is to keep watch, right?
Watch over those long past and guard their secrets. Zeal, water, zeal. Swarm. Water.
Zeal as in like energy, right? The passion. Oh, passion's another one, but fervor, like combat or religious fervor.
Mm. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay.
What is a synonym for secrets?
Um,
I'm looking for something beginning with T.
a synonym for secrets. Oh, I do not know enough of synonyms to do this.
Zeal. This is why you look it up. Vest. Hold on. What about storm? It can't be a storm. It has to be a swarm. What about swarm synonyms?
The torrent. Are you looking at the descriptor or?
I'm looking for something that merges vigil, zeal, water, and swarm. Water and swarm, I'm like, you can do surge, you can do flood, like you can do a whole bunch of things. Like you can Watcher of Wonder. Vigil. I'm liking where the headspace is at with the Watcher part.
Found your missing ones.
What about the Watchers of the Deep?
Vigil.
If we're not, I know we're wanting to do alliteration or throw it out, but Watchers of the Deep. The idea that it's like a swarm that takes you in the deeper water.
Synonym.
And guards like that's, you could have like the secrets of the world are in the deepest ocean. Is kind of like the idea. I really like the idea that oceans are a bad, dangerous place because
the Centuries of Solitude.
They kind of.
The deep. Okay. Undersea. Undersea. Synonym.
Somebody guarding.
Because I found the word sentinel. The sunken sentinels. That sounds like a. That sounds like a What do you call it? That sounds like a football team.
I like it though.
Yeah, Watchers of the Deep is a good one.
I mean, I do like.
It's got to be an exception to the rule.
It can be the exception. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they don't all have to be realms. They can be more like concepts or like.
Yeah, exactly.
That sort of thing.
Confidence, death, dreams, and trickery.
Oh my gosh. Confidence, death, dreams, and trickery.
Oh no, okay, hear me out. It's so confidence itself, what if it's a reaper of ego?
Go on.
So where people so it is effectively the boogeyman that brings down like those that are like tyrants and so forth. So it is effectively like a jester deity, or a jester god. that performs tricks and satire, and is often viewed as that which keeps the tyrants in line.
We're going more into deities as a thing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just like I'm wanting to stay true to what we thought of in the
Yeah.
Inception, because it's, while I really like that idea,
The thing that can easily
don't
come
wanna.
is that if there are aligned concepts that
Mm,
want to work together, they may merge, and that forms the current collection, so to speak.
mm,
But that's the one thing I can see here is the overall type of theme here with like some like confidence, death, dreams, and trickery is um,
well, madness is a
a
different thing.
being that performs satire. A being that performs satire, and it's not about confidence as in they, try and bring out confidence, but more in the fact that they are a reaper of confidence. They bring things low.
Mm. It's the trickery that's the thing. And the confidence. Triggering and confidence. I'm like, dreams and death you can do pretty easy.
Yeah.
But then
That's the
add
only thing I can think
confidence
of
and
is
trickery
that,
to the mix.
yeah. So with this one, the only thing I can see is that it's like the concept is that of an assassin who brings low those of tyranny.
Mm.
And it would often do that by performing tricks or to bruise ego.
Mm-hmm.
But if all else fails, the concept is that in order to um, keep things going, they bring death.
Mm. Mischievous mortality maimer.
Yeah.
I like it, but it's not a realm. Where the last two have not been realms. Are we
Oh,
leaning
okay.
away from this? Like, are we
Okay, so a
wanting
particular realm where these these things kind of like
that's
inhabit.
a cool creature, and I like it. But
So
maybe it's a
okay,
creature that
so what are
spawns
we
out
doing
of
here? 'Cause
like
I'm seem a bit lost apparently.
so
So are we looking for particular realms?
so the idea is that it's like the sort of planes and stuff that you draw from, right?
Oh, okay, yep. So
Like the first three are for it. The second,
um,
the last two, I'm like, they're really cool, but also, um, if you go along the thing where that kind of creature could spawn from, though, jesters, where are the
just
jesters?
taunt?
Jester's Jaunt. That's a that's a spell in first edition Pathfinder,
Oh, okay.
which could be an ability of theirs. I'm just like, this is a great creature, and something that could spawn out of this place. Because I mean,
Is
that's
there
also an idea.
a-
Is you can create creatures and things that come
Okay,
from this
so can you
place.
show me the folder again? Oh, I'll
Hmm?
use it for that. So, drift, dreams.
I think we could do a court.
Yeah.
Court of what? Calamitous Court?
Yeah, let's go to Calamitous Court.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's cool. But what was your idea? Like, basically, assassin
My
gen
thought is basically
jesters.
almost like a circus or a jester's yeah, a jester's court type thing.
Mm. Assassin jesters. Um,
Because what we can do was get away from the whole angels and devils and demons thing, and you have
extraplanar
extraplanar entities that
Yeah, I'm totally with that. Yeah. So you have the realm and then the extraplanar entities that come from that realm. That'd be so cool. And then it's just like, no, these aren't just like devils and like imps and crap like that, but you have effectively just a whole bestiary that can just spawn from this like realm. It's like, that's a cool idea. Okay, here's the next one.
Number 5, the tumultuous tides.
Nice. I like it. I think that's how you spell
Dragon's
tumultuous.
Passion.
It might be.
Family.
How do you spell
geez,
tumultuous?
The only
Yeah,
thing I
right.
can think of is the Adams family, but they're all dragons.
Hold on.
I don't know if that fits.
I'm just gonna put that as a note because that's funny. Adam's family, but dragons. Passion, undeath, family, and wormkin. Well, undeath. So the undead in this world are all fungus based, right?
Yeah.
So you could have mushroom, like a draconic mushroom realm. How wormkin come into this? Because wormkin is like dragons.
It's dragons. Well.
Oh, you could do.
Okay, the only thing I think of is the Dance of Dragons.
Yeah, I mean that's a great alliterative title, but it's
also
also a title from a trademark title from frickin' George R. R. Martin.
Give me a minute.
Thing. Hey.
The Worm's Waltz.
The what now?
The Worm's Waltz.
Worm's Waltz? Okay, I've got an idea for the realm. So this is a like setting creation stream where we're basically creating the divine realms for a setting that we've been working on. We kind of created by accident and now are working on a more consistent, semi-consistent basis by doing different themes
is to
of stuff.
Brute force a whole bunch of things together and use that as the prompt to make a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which is
you can also do this
cool.
with deities as well. So you effectively just grab everything on the list and you just brute force it and see what happens.
So my thought for this area is that you have basically like, what's the DMs about? Oh. Which one? Oh, that's other things. Yes. Stuff that I messaged you about. I forgot. Basically, I was wondering if you were busy this afternoon. There, Evo. After I'm done streaming this, because we've been going for an hour and a half, so maybe in like an hour. What times? I'll message you. Belmonte, you continue the setting creation.
Cool. So the idea of glyph, I believe, is similar to runes. So you wield power over written symbols and words. So the idea being here is that glyphs are more associated with language and why is nothing? Alright. Is everything all happening? No?
Yeah, I think that should be better. It all came through at once. Goodness.
Alright, so the idea here being that what to do yes, okay. The idea being here is that glyphs are associated with language and writing. Time nightmares and indulgence. That seems like an area which is basically a giant horror story book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the thought here is to try and figure out how these four concepts are would coalesce into a realm of reality that is outside your standard plane of existence that other your normal players would interact with. And
Mm.
the thought here is that these other planes of existence kind of not embody necessarily, but are heavily influenced by these four concepts, and would therefore be planes of existence that people can draw energy from as priests or as mages for their magic. And these could also, for once we have this particular world, you can diverge off that in order to create beings that would um, fit this particular world. So the four concepts we have in order to put it together is indulgence, time, nightmares, and glyph.
Mm-hmm.
Glyph being languages and words and stuff.
Longing, literature, lands. Indulgence, longing, nightmares. In time.
There's another word for landscape. The literatures of longing.
You could do the library. The longing
The
library.
of longing.
What's a long?
Guess. What's unsatiated? Insatiable.
The thirsty, thirsty library. Hunger.
The insatiable intonations.
Intonations. That sounds almost like a book title, not necessarily like a place.
Okay.
I do like it though. I'm gonna put insatiable intonations next to it, because that's like I say, it's like something that could be written about it. Library synonym.
The long libraries, I guess. The literature.
The Archive of Appetites?
Let's go with that one.
Yeah?
Yep.
Have a good one, Eva.
Yep.
Cheers. Appreciate that. Archive of Appetites. The thing with time as well is like... yeah. Okay. I had a note that I wanted to do for the mushroom area. You could have basically like the Mushroom Kingdom. It's really dumb. But like Mario freaking running around. But basically you can have like this sort of spore mushroom forest is like the idea of the plane. And then how the spores travel is from winds that are created by dragons flying over top.
Or they carry upon the breath that pervades around the region. So as strong enough beings, particularly dragons, just not necessarily using their breath weapons, but just breathing, it creates this collective wind that passes over the area. Possibly, it's like having a shoreline winds. It's like having that constantly. That just this shoreline breeze that just brushes spores that pervade the region around.
Mm. Now I'm just thinking. Let's give my brain. Let's get my brain going. I like the idea of the expanse being used because like an expansive mushroom forest would be quite cool. The Mwangi expanse. It's already taken. Breath. Breath synonym. Wind. Puff. Puff the magic dragon.
I almost think the breath of spores.
The exhalation expanse.
Yeah, the exhalation expanse. That's a good one. You got to remember that there's also we've got to also remember that there is passion and family, and yeah, that'll work.
Passion and family is an interesting part of it. You have family of
The exhalation expanse
mushrooms.
is a good one. It describes the area.
I think it could be like we could focus more on the creatures for the like passion and family and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Feast of Famine. What do you mean by that one?
Okay, we need to redo 14 or number 9, I should say, because it's effectively the previous one with introspection instead of glyph.
Okay, cool. Yep, let's remove that one then.
So are we just removing it or?
So it has introspection instead of glyph. Okay, let me just change that one then.
Well, what we could do is we could just like.
Okay, so no, I got a solution. There we go.
Just gonna do that.
Oh no, I was gonna do something different.
Okay.
So I had 3 remaining before because I managed to find which ones.
Okay.
There we go.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Introspection, abomination, soul, and toil.
Well,
Abomination and soul going together. I'm feeling like corruption is
yeah, it's a massive corrupting area of corruption.
I'm feeling the word corruption right now. Soul is you wield power over the spiritual. Interesting.
An abomination is, I'm guessing, things related to seek to instill abhorrence and horror. Okay. So horror of the soul in an area about introspection and toil.
Fear is phantom. It's the
a corrupting meditation area. Okay, meditation. Synonym. Meditation.
Where do you usually do meditation? Like, is there a space for areas? Just buildings.
The contemplation of corruption.
I like it. Concentration. Although
oh, I was going contemplation.
Oh. again, that sounds like a philosophical book more than a
Yeah,
area.
let's put it aside. It's a book.
Yep.
Um,
I like it though. What's some corruption? Government of ghouls. It's not necessarily an undead area, but I like the alliteration. It's supernatural, but that might not mean corruption synonyms. We need a fourth.
oh,
Abomination.
the diocese basement.
Sorry?
The diocese of the basement.
Okay. Introspection, working. I mean, that's pretty intense, and I like it.
I'm pretty sure. Object. Pretty
Dice.
sure Dias. How do you? Oh,
It's in a
Dias
DS.
platform.
Pronunciation. How does one pronounce it?
This word
Oh.
means days in Spanish, and in Spanish it is
Oh yeah,
as
Di. Okay,
días.
Dias. Okay,
Días. Now, in English,
here we go.
as a name, this is generally said and pronounced
It's meant to be
as
the I and the A other way around.
días. Días.
My gosh. It's a dais.
Dais. Dais.
Dais. It's a dais. Okay. That's
Dias'
cool.
basement.
All right. Sweet. I'm happy with that. Freaking I like that idea. Is almost like
It's almost like a plane of punishment.
yeah, but it's almost like personal for each. Like it could be the sort of equivalent of hell, but like it's like a personal plane, quote unquote, in that
Yeah.
each person, like you don't see necessarily other creatures, like other people in that plane, but it's like
Yeah.
almost because of introspection, it's like you're cut off from all of the other.
It's like that mist
Um,
area in the spirit realms in Avatar, where people just wander around aimlessly forever.
Yeah, and just can't escape or like
Yeah.
see anything. But unless you're the Avatar, Avatar: The Last Airbender is such a good world, as well. Just side note, such a good world. Realm of Regret. Regret. I like that. I'm gonna put that down, but I'm not sure if it's right for because there's Sorrow coming up. Realm of Regret. I like that. Sorrow is coming up, so let's have a look. I like
Glyph,
introspection. We've already got Glyph. Do we have any?
Let me just check. Might have something.
Mm-hmm.
Data, home. Use the conditional formatting, manage rules, delete the sheet, and whoa. Delete everything. Okay, cool.
Delete everything. That doesn't sound good.
No, I'm just trying to. I'm shortcutting a way to find whatever's not a double up.
I got you. Might as well.
Yeah. So the reason why there's a double up is because some of the things have been used before. So
Yeah.
in order to, because 59 is about to be one double up, and its double
Mhm.
up is Glyph.
Oh well.
So Not the worst thing to have as a 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we can just ignore it. Whatever works.
Yeah. Void
Void
protection and
travel.
travel. Ooh.
Roads of Realization.
Mm. Mm. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm remiss to like not workshop it in case there's something something better, around the corner, right? Roads of Realization. It's pretty good. And that gets glyph and travel, but I'm wondering about void and protection. Oh, no, this can be the realm that you pass into
Before all the others?
no, for the elf gates is what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Um
Yes, I can see that actually. Yeah.
what about well, I'll keep that Roads of Realization. Cornerstones of Civilization.
That could probably be the one, what the elves call it.
We already have of Civilization. Cornerstones of it's too buildy with cornerstones. I like the protect. I want to include the void and protection in there if we can.
Oh, the safeguarded streets.
That's really good too. Safeguarded streets, roads of realization, passageways. How about the penumbral passageways?
Yep, that works.
Or how about all three?
Hey, whatever the culture uses, they can work with it. All right.
Cool.
They all do the same thing. They are a road.
Mm-hmm. It's just a realm of roads, effectively. Sorrow, healing, decay, secrecy. Healing and decay being in the same area.
And secrecy.
Oh my gosh. I really liked the Realm of Regret, and I'm
The Realm of Regret seems like the thing that works here.
If you don't mind, JR, I'm gonna use the Realm of Regret here, because that's pretty good. And we'll just move on. Because healing and decay just
to work off here would be the Skies of Insight.
Skies of Insight?
Yeah.
Where do the skies come? Oh, the for the next one.
Yeah.
Hospital of Horror. Putting that down just because it's funny. Skies of Insight. Kind of rhymes, right? Are we going for the alliteration thing?
I am, but I was thinking that if I've got a base to work off, maybe we can find something that sounds similar.
Skies of Insight. Oh, it's too cheesy. But the Heavens of Honesty.
Uh,
It's too.
wow.
That's too cheesy, right?
Nothing-
Like,
There's got to be a certain amount of arrogance for beings from that area. I got to say.
should we
This is
keep
like-
it?
Yeah.
Ah,
I mean, we're from the heavens of honesty. You can trust us.
so true.
Meanwhile, the irony is that they don't have to tell the truth, but they
Mm.
have magics that enable others to do so.
They can see the truth, right?
Yeah. And the thought is that people go, you look up to the sky, and that's seen as a good thing because that's where the light comes from.
Mm.
So they can eat, like, for less scrupulous members or darker members, they can utilize that and abuse it to get people to trust them.
Mm.
Earth, tyranny, lightning, and air. Jeez.
Lightning and air being together is cool. And then Earth
Yeah.
comes into the mix, and I'm like, mountains?
Almost like the Storm Lords.
Mountains of manipulation. Peaks of the peaks
The
of
Mountains of Malice.
it's better. It's much better. The peaks of power.
Peaks of Power. Yeah, that also works.
I don't know why it's like my brain is going to cheese mode, like kind of 80s like B movie fantasy.
Yeah.
It's like the peaks of power. I like the Mountains of Malice, honestly.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's got the air, it's got the lightning. Actually, if we do the Mountains of Malice and then have it be and then have it be effectively like Eternal Storm.
Yeah. So the thought here is that it's a highly mountainous area, so almost no flat ground, and the plain, the plain,
Mm.
is almost eternally wreathed in a rough storm.
It's Eternal Storm hanging over a mountain range is like
Those of you who've seen the House of the Dragon, it's the Stormlands.
which is really funny to me. Just that whole area. Like, let's send the weakest rider. I'm like, it's maybe the shortest distance, but that could be like the roughest ride.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Darkness, shooty,
Fate and dust. What does dust, like, relate to? Is it like...
You have the power to dry and crumble what opposes you. Oh, okay. Alright. So, Shigaraki mode. Alright. So,
It totally is.
the Mount of Murder.
Mounts of Murder is also quite fun.
That also sounds close to, like, a heavy metal band.
Mounts of Murder.
Duty. Wait. Okay, there's a terrain that starts with the letter O. Oblast. Oh! Oblast of Obedience.
Oblast?
It's an administrative region or division or region in the Soviet Union. It's basically a region or province.
Duty, Fate, and Dust. People are going to look at that word and go, what? Excuse me?
Hey.
I mean, I like it though. It's the problem. I'm like, is it too obtuse of a thing?
It sounds cool and it alliterates.
Oasis of optimism. That's for a place that's got darkness, dust.
That would be something that's within it rather than the area. But
Mm,
I like it.
the oasis of optimism. Hmm. All right, let's go with a blast of obedience. Why not? Freaking Slavic
Ambition,
principality.
nature, wealth, and destruction. Um,
Oh my
can you
gosh.
say Zendika?
It's like wealth, ambition are really good hand in hand, and so is destruction. But then you throw nature in the mix, and I'm like, oh,
ambition, nature, wealth, and destruction. Okay, with these four concepts, what would happen here? So the area is, let's say the area is rich in something,
the
or value,
wheel,
something of value.
the wheel of the world. I
I
don't.
can see people just calling it the wheel of the world.
Tower of terrain. I just imagine the different floors being different terrain types. Oh, you're in a forest. I would like that. That's kind of cool.
Basically, yeah. So it's an area that is abundant in nature, and potentially that also means. So it's an area full of those natural wealth, right? So things of value. So heaps of valuable resources for timber, land, water, minerals, just wealth in general.
Mm.
Ambition, I don't. With
How about the
I'm not sure the
pinnacles?
concept what the world is even like.
The pinnacles of prosperity.
Yeah, let's go with that one. Yeah, let's go with that one. Tower of
Mm.
terrain. Yeah.
I do like that as a concept, though. It's like the plane itself is built on like layers.
Yeah. It's an unusual tower, just a massive long rod of different terrain types.
Uh huh. Cheers, Bellmancer. So that's 15.
Yep, more than enough. More than enough.
Is the lunar leviathan something that we need to shift?
I almost think.
Keep it as the one-off.
Yeah, I'd keep it as a one-off. I was gonna put it as like the Sea of Rest or something like that. Yeah, you can use. I can see the plane just actually being a massive serpent.
Mm. Maybe it's like the inside of
Yeah.
like the.
Well, if you think about it another way, what if that entire realm is almost serpentine in nature? The towering terrain, assuming terrain, not terrain. Towering terrain of treasures.
I need you to elaborate on the entire realm as serpentine in nature, because
Okay,
that
so you know how you mentioned it's
is
the area could be
intriguing.
the inside of a snake.
Hmm.
Let's say that when you usually assume a different world, the world itself is either flat because it's fucking laughable, or it's elliptical. Elliptical? It's a squished ball, or it's a
Right.
ball, right? When you
It's
imagine
an
a plane's like
ellipsoid.
a
Yeah.
ball,
Hmm.
ellipsoid. So what if it isn't? What if these planes can take on different shapes as required? For example, hell itself is in layers, and I think heaven's like a big mountain or something. But the point is, what if the shape of this plane, the lunar Leviathan, is called that because it is not ellipsoid in nature, but a large terrain that stretches like a snake. So it twists and turns, it wraps around in different places. It is effectively, instead of being ellipsoid,
We could
it's a
do
long, elongated, shifting tube.
a Halo ring vibe.
So Ouroboros,
Hmm.
effectively. That could also work. But yeah, that's what I think anyway. It's just
Like
like,
you're on the
what if the
back
lunar
of.
Leviathan is called that because it's just some big non-ellipsoid structure?
Mm. It'd be interesting as well if it's like kilometers big,
Yeah,
to the point where the interior of it has its own ecosystem and like uh like it is its own plane. Like it's
yeah,
a plane which is the digestive system of an entity.
yeah.
And
With
like
like,
the
and
natural disasters and stuff that happen inside of the plane, or like the that sort of thing, is the Leviathan moving, or
yeah.
like things
Because the
getting
thought
burnt.
is that the area itself is reminiscent of the powers of the moon, so you effectively have tides, shifting lights and so forth.
Very true.
And if you go off the idea that the entire place is akin to a snake or of a leviathan,
Mm.
for instance, it could just be a plane that people call the leviathan because it's like being inside a creature, not
Mm.
a normal world. Because the big assumption of this is that the world is ellipsoid.
Mm.
What if it isn't an ellipsoid?
Mm. Like the planes
Yeah,
are
but
ellipsoid.
like it could be eating its own tail. It could be just swing around. Like, yeah,
Mm.
the basis being the assumption here is that the world is an ellipsoid. What if it isn't? And that's why people called it the Leviathan.
Mm. That's pretty crazy. But also you have effectively the ability with things like plane shift as a spell. You have the ability to travel and visit these planes
Yeah,
and
and
map their
people often
existence.
name these planes based on their observances or
Mm.
yeah, like observances and things to make them remember what this place is. So, let's say you call a place like, I don't know, Baba's Farm or something like that out in some farmyard area, and they get
Mm.
shortened to Baba's like stock, and this Baba dude happens to grow like farm a bunch of cows, like livestock, right? And then after a while,
Mm.
people just call it Baba stock because people shorten it, and then they named it after like the area.
Mm.
So these names itself are, yeah, really good and descriptive, and they like happen to alliterate, which makes it easier to remember. But the important part is to also help give a descriptor of what we're looking at.
I think that's fair and pretty good.
Yeah. So effectively, somewhere like the Archives of Appetites, you hopefully get an idea between them of that like curiosity or that bombacity of a name that scholars or powerful mages will give it to, make it memorable,
Mm.
but also be kind of descriptive for future peoples to travel to. Because if you give
Yeah.
a name of a realm or a place called the Realm of Regret.
Mm.
It's not a place that
You wanna
go
go?
to for honesty. No, you go to for like, I don't know, optimism.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
I like the idea as well of there not being angels, devils, and that sort of thing. In
Yeah,
that,
because your
like,
life. Yeah.
you have planar entities from these different planes.
Yeah.
And you can take, like, inspiration from those things. But, like, even the whole Calamitous Court with, like, the assassin jesters, which are kind of... I mean, the way you put them out there, I kind of got League of Shadows vibe from DC.
Yeah.
But, like, with satirical... Like, if the League of Shadows was run by the Joker, almost.
Yeah. Or like the Feywild was, all the
Have a good night,
Fey
JL.
basically resided in a realm where they have fun of like knocking people off their rocker type thing.
Yeah. That's it. And,
It's
like,
something
the
like the
longer they
tumultuous
fall,
tides,
right?
It's likely a bunch of rough seas, like an ocean, like almost an ocean realm, but it has a bunch of entities that are very staunch people
Mm.
and are able to control vast amounts of like all command and so forth.
Oh, and the tumultuous tides.
Yeah, so the tumultuous tides could have some of the best soldiers
Mm.
out of the planes, simply
Mm.
because like a lot of the aspects that these powers that reside there would be entities related to vigilance and zeal.
Mm.
Sweet.
Yeah, I really like it, and just all of these are really cool ideas for the things. And I think it also means that it's like with that you can draw on the power of that realm, but also you have this sort of this deeper connection to that realm that you could explore that realm potentially as like a future part of your campaign, because like talking to your deity is not really something that happens in every campaign for like a cleric or something like that. But if the power that you get actually comes from your plane, like from the plane that you draw power from, you could actually have that be a part of the character's story as they travel to the plane that they draw power from.
Yeah, and you also have this thing where you have people that kind of try and draw power through an intermediary of this plane. Like for instance, if you want to, in order to access the powers within the, let's say, the Oblast of Obedience, not Oblast of Obedience, the Mountains of Malice. Let's say you want to go to Mountains of Malice, so you talk to a Duke there, and you use the Duke as an intermediary to draw power for like the domain of tyranny. There's nothing stopping from that happening. Like the fact that you the priests and so forth draw from the plane itself, or actually what they believe as their faith may or may not be real, is, I wouldn't say isn't inconsequential. It is quite consequential, but it leaves things open to meaning that the power that people draw from doesn't have to come from this all-powerful, like
Singular
this
creature
very powerful
or
being.
entity. Yeah.
Yeah. People can also have the option of drawing power through an intermediary in order to, control that power, for instance.
Yeah. And I like the idea, I think it's something we talked about, that when you die, you go to one of these, how many? 15 realms.
15 realms.
You go to one of these 15 realms, and then that, like, how devoted you were to that aspect in life is effectively your level, or like how much people are devoted to you, potentially, is the other way of going about it, is how much influence you have in that realm after your death.
Yeah.
So you can
So
almost
the
have.
value of your spirit to the realm and how much you
Mm.
embody that realm
Mm,
could potentially give you some type of afterlife in that realm.
yeah.
Something. As the
Yeah.
realm with aspects will then morph you further, effectively, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
I would like to say we can take a page out of the Hermes book and make the roads of realization the catch-all
Yeah.
for souls.
Yeah.
As in, like, if you do not have any particular leaning to any of the particular realms,
You'll head to the roads of realization.
you head to the roads of realization.
And this, can we assume here the roads of realization themselves are the link between all worlds?
I would say so. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Because it also has the void there, right? So yeah, but this is good.
Mm.
This is a good load of like the realms
Badass.
themselves aren't just what is it? The material realm, shadow realm, Feywilds, and then each realm will based on some of the
Heaven,
based
hell.
on iteration of the alignments.
Yeah.
These are all quite distinct realms that may embody some of the alignments, but
Mm.
more just other realms of existence that have been embodied by the different aspects that now inhabit them.
I think with
instance.
all of these as well, there's potential for good neutrality and evil characters. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, some of them, it's kind of like, I mean, the dais of debasement, you're kind of like,
That's not a place you go to if you're a person who.
It's not
believes
really
in, like,
a good place to be, which is
No.
fine. Like, you can have realms which are like, this isn't for good people. Like, what are
No.
you doing here?
You have to have a place that is not good for good people. So you
Mhm.
know that denizens of that realm are things that are almost universally okay to just attack on sight.
And then there's also there's also the other side where you have the heavens of honesty.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would say, like, in World, whoever named it the Heaven's Honesty was a freaking tool.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like,
I feel like
it
you're trying to
sucked
tell me
because
something here,
it worked,
Bellamatzer.
but oh boy.
No, totally fair. I agree. I like it. I like it all. I think it's really cool. Something as well that I wanted to put out there as a thing for this stream is that your divine font that you get as part of being a cleric is not something that is based off of the power you draw from. It's based off of how you see the power that you draw from, and whether you see that in a positive or negative light. So you can almost steal, I would say, quote unquote, power from, or take it out of hatred from that given realm.
Yeah.
But to do so is to use a harmful font from that realm.
Yeah. So something like truth, right, is often defined as something that would be viewed as helpful.
Yeah.
It is often a talent aligned with good. Sun could be the same.
Mhm.
But in this case, if you're someone who is like an inquisitor of sort, obtaining truth from someone can be a very gruesome and brutal task. And from that you can draw upon it for the sun's burning light to scald away your enemies, and your ability to harm people could take the form of like fire, scalding fire, type thing.
I have a wacky idea, and please say no if you think it's too out there. But depending on which way, it's an optional rule for this setting for Pathfinder 2nd could be that you can choose, no matter what ancestry you are, you can choose to take negative healing as an option. And the theme for that is the positive and negative healing is not like the positive and negative font is not like that's just that kind of energy, and it's whether that type of energy harms you as a creature or a person, or whether that type of energy actually like heals you or like energizes you. Probably a bit too out there, but like
I think it was a bit too out there. It gets really iffy really fast. Because you have to define, because positive energy is framed as being that which gives life, and negative is that which fuels undeath. So to change it based on an alignment system, it kind of really does that with the alignment things. So
with the like
probably best to leave
alignment
positive and negative
damage
out of it. Yeah. Although it would be interesting to have, what do you call it? Instead of having alignment damage, you have your damage for alignment could be based on planar. So instead of having good, evil, blah blah blah, you have alignment based on like you deal damage from the realm of regret, and those who oppose you would feel its effects.
But how many people would oppose, like specifically oppose? Do you have to be like have a chart of just like this is like,
yeah, which is
the
like
place?
I was thinking about it now, and I'm like, I think that's a bit too much.
I feel like that's too much.
Because there's like 15 of them.
Yeah.
And it makes certain spells so easy to hit, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Are you like I said, energy from this plane? Are you one of the 1 in 15 people that won't affect? No, cool. You're taking damage now.
Yeah. Granted, kind of cool, but I agree.
Maybe for a more advanced, specific spell.
I could see that honestly, like, planar ray or something like that.
Yeah, you like, or you just overlay an area of the turn an area temporarily to be aligned with another plane instead of its own.
Yeah. Planar invasion.
Yeah.
That's a cool name for a spell. Hold on, I'm taking planar
Temporary overlay.
invasion. Planar invasion. You temporarily bring a section of a plane into the material plane. Crap. Yeah. I think that's cool. I think that's real cool. And yeah. We have some realms.
That things are based on particular concepts, so there may be entities that walk around and embody those concepts, but as long as these concepts, are active and are in the world, they'll remain. And when a new one's discovered, I guess we've got to just try and, do things. Or just leave it until later.
Or just leave it until
Where
later.
hashtag new planes are discovered.
When they add more domains to the...
Yeah. Look, guys, there's a place to be discovered. Look at that. Yeah.
More domains have been added into Pathfinder 2nd. Okay, we're going to create a new plane out of whatever they release. They've released they've released 4 new domains, and we just look at the 4 domains and we're like, how are we supposed to make a plane out of this?
Yeah.
Because they're just all like
But the thought is that it still keeps the thing open where
Mm.
you can worship particular entities, or people can worship like an embodiment of these
Mm.
entities based around their culture,
Mm.
and they will still draw power from it.
Yeah. And I think certain planes will have the ruling class or whatever like that
Yeah.
will sort of take that space of being a deity or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like more of a contract between some like level of authority
So effectively, you
figure.
have more almost warlock. Well, going from 5e, you
Mm.
almost have these like pact bound or warlock themed type of arrangements or relationships with entities in other realms,
Mm.
as opposed to drawing from an extra planar powerful being.
Which is pretty cool because it
Yeah.
gives more potential. Like, it's a lot of people know the deities for Galarian, but do they know where those deities reside?
Yeah.
Like,
That's that. Some of that is like material for a pop quiz. Probably
Mhm.
the best way of putting it.
so I know a few. I'm not sure if I'd be able to say where all of them reside and which location in that respective plane.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Bellamonster. I mean, it's a pretty decent place to end it, unless you have other thoughts on this matter that you want to dive into as a
I think we
subject.
did well enough today.
Mhm.
Didn't really too much into Korea, what that means for the setting and so forth. But
Of how the
I'm sh
world came to be.
yeah, I don't think you need to go. One of the things that I don't think this necessarily needs is how the world came to be. You just need to establish that what is kind of the creation thing, and does that create the world? Yes, it does. So
Mhm.
we're good. Like,
Yeah.
this world doesn't need to be extremely special. It just needs to be the one that we can plant people on and make a story out of.
Mm.
Like, the world doesn't need to have a purpose of its own. It just needs to exist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think
the big
it's
part is probably like how some of these planes or the aspects of them influence the world, like
mm,
potentially culturally and so forth. But that is something that could be brought up as a topic of conversation, because that could go on for hours
well,
potentially.
something we could do in this world, and something I just thought of like a second ago, is in most settings that are fantasy, you only ever have the one world that you design. But effectively, you could have different settings within the same setting framework by having different worlds within that setting.
Yes. I'm guessing it's a case of Paizo's done it with a few of his planets and so forth, but it probably is a case of it's a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, totally.
it's a lot of work. So
But at the same time, it's like a lot of that sort of baseline groundwork is done already, and so you can just be like, sweet, I'm gonna go forth and do the thing. But yeah.
Yep.
All good. I think that's enough for today. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been Bellamonster and I doing more setting stuff, doing more behind the screens. It's been great. Very much enjoy actually getting into this sort of stuff, and doing some creation, because it's not every day that when you run a lot of like adventure paths and stuff like that you get to homebrew content.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Well, I will catch you all later, and thank you, Bellamonster. We'll catch you later as well, and yeah, we'll see you all later. Bye.
Yeah.